You are listening to Zen and the Art of Triathlon.
Well, hey there, all you triathlon studs and studettes, and welcome to another great episode of Zen and the Art of Triathlon, the podcast where we go long on endurance and learn a lot about ourselves along the way. We are at mountain bike races this morning. Kai, my 15-year-old son, is on the high school mountain bike team. And it's a composite team, so there's like middle schoolers and everything. And we are at the first race of the season, and it is awesome. I'm recording in the car right now because it's this huge campground mountain bike course scenario, and there's generators running. And I wanted to have a moment of quiet before I go out there and get all the racket and everything so I can explain actually what's going on. Have a nice intro to the show. And yeah, I think that's enough quiet time right here. We need to get outside here in a second. But it's Emily and myself and Kai. And Emily and I slept in the car overnight. We have a Volkswagen Atlas, a 2020 or 2019. And it is wonderful. And one of the reasons we bought it is because it's long enough inside with the back seats down that I'm 6'3", and I had extra headroom. And then with the panoramic sunroof open, it was just so cool in here, sleeping overnight. And bike racks on the back. And I think his team probably has about 20-something kids on it. And there's people from all over Texas here at the race. And after we cover the race, then we will have audio of my training log of stuff I've been doing lately. And that's what will round out the second half of the show. But anyway, there's Cobb Cycling. I wonder if they're from the Tyler area. Anyway, we will cover more details as we get going with the show. It's 8:30 right now, and Kai is racing at 10, and it's wave after wave after wave of kids. We adults rode the course with them, parents that are coaching, which I am one of them, were allowed to ride the course with the kids yesterday. And so I got to ride the course a couple laps, and I was exhausted because I also biked 3 hours yesterday morning and I blew up towards the end of it. And so I was pouring in sweat and legs blown out, and I'm trying to bike up this tiny little hill, and I got middle schoolers passing me. They're probably like, "Why do you suck so bad?" I'm like, "I don't. You have no idea. You don't know me and my problems." All right, that's it for now. Let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully with some race audio. I gotta go get some breakfast. Out. All right, this is really exciting. I was working my way down to the start line for the mountain bike race, and I saw the G.R.I.T table, and I've been hearing about G.R.I.T, but I didn't even actually knew what it meant. I knew it was women's and girls cycling, but I didn't know actually what it was about. And then y'all started handing out to me flyers about a women's riding clinic, and then so I asked if I could interview Annie about what's going on and what this is all about. So what is this G.R.I.T stuff I keep hearing all about? How long has it been around, and how to get started?
G.R.I.T is actually a national initiative. It started last year, so this is our second year. We started when the national.
Okay, so it wasn't just me that this is new, and I'm behind the curve.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, we started pretty small last year, just doing the G.R.I.T pre-ride pretty much. Doing the same thing this year, but the goal behind it is, and what G.R.I.T stands for, is Girls Ride Together. And the goal is by 2023 to increase female participation in the league by 33%.
Okay, and the league is the NICA league, or?
Nationally and all the individual state level leagues, to get everybody up to 33% participation for female athletes and coaches.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like our team has a lot of female coaches, and it's exciting because then the girls feel like they've got adult leadership they're not alone. Yeah. Okay. So this flyer I got was for moms to at the WARTA. What's the date of that race? It's race number 3, March 8th in WARTA, Texas, at the Bluff Creek Bike Ranch, which I love. That was the first real bike ranch I ever went to.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fantastic for moms on bikes, beginner skills clinic, and when I first started mountain biking, my friends would make fun of me because my wife is better than I am immediately. And I was riding all the time, and she barely rode, but she has just such better balance. That she would go down stuff that I was scared to go down. Right. And then she would go and they go, man, you got to go now. And I was like, crap. Because it was scary. Yeah. And she's really, really good. So. But her mountain bike's from the 90s. We need to get her updated. Yeah. So this is really cool. Well, thanks for talking to me.
Absolutely.
And now I know what G.R.I.T is, and I can share it with all the listeners.
And mob we're going to have a mob, right? Moms on bikes. Mm-hmm. It's not just for moms. Mm-hmm. It's anybody who wants to improve their skills. So moms, sisters, aunts, females in general.
So it's 3 p.m. on March 8th, which is that the day before the race, or that's?
Yeah, it's Saturday.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, y'all, we had that here too, right?
Well, we had some moms join the G.R.I.T, which is from 1 to 2. Every race we get the pre-ride an hour early, just for G.R.I.T ladies. Yeah. So we're going to do that still at WARTA, and then at 3 o'clock, we'll do a skills clinic.
So what's your history of mountain bike racing?
I started back in college in the 90s. Yeah. And I rode with a bunch of guys for about 30 seconds. Yeah. And then I'd see them at the end. Yeah.
And then, you want more girls racing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I transitioned to road biking because there were just more ladies there. But I missed the dirt, so I came back.
So what do you think about, I was listening to a podcast, they're talking about gravel riding, and right now, because it's not sanctioned, the women ride with the guys. And they start off with the guys, and it's kind of like a triathlon, which I have a long history in. Look, here you go. Here's a future G.R.I.T.
Yeah, absolutely.
She looks like she's 2 or 3 on a Cannondale pedaling along. No training wheels. Balance. That's incredible. Yeah. And they're wondering with the gravel riding how long that'll last, that the women are starting with the guys and not try to start breaking people up without thinking about it first, just assuming that they need to go shorter or whatever, or go behind everybody and give them the fair chance that they deserve. Yeah. And like an Ironman, they do the same distance as the guys, and they always have. Yeah. And I was watching GCN in the Tour Down Under. There is full-length race video of the Tour Down Under every stage of the women's race, which is awesome. It's amazing. And then the guys' race it's not free to watch. It's just the highlights video, and I guess you got to subscribe. And so I'm not watching the guys because I don't want to pay for it, so I'm watching the women's race, and it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Women's professional cycling is just as tough as the men's professional racing.
Yeah, hopefully they'll get the Tour de France back,
I was
or women.
About to say that.
There was one woman where I've read that they said that could definitely keep up with the guys and could do it. Yeah. And we need more of that. And I think it's just the volume of people. Absolutely. That when you get more people riding, you're going to find those people, just like with guys.
Yeah. Well, it's becoming more mainstream. Yeah. So, for my generation, we started later in life.
You don't have that history.
Right.
By the time you're 16 or 18.
That muscle memory.
Of 10,000 hours.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's going to explode here pretty soon.
Like that girl that just rode by. She's going to be incredible.
Absolutely.
Because somebody put her on a bike without thinking that she shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's nice to meet
barriers. You. Yeah, it's great to meet you. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Kai's mountain bike race is over. Let's go ahead and review it. It's a few days later. He got 7th place out of like 40. And he started towards the back and he worked his way up to the front. I got comments on the type of mountain bike he's riding, like tire size and all that stuff. But before I forget, man, it's cold outside. I'm leaving the pool. I got a swim tip for y'all. I'm leaving the pool and I did something today. I do it a lot of days to get in more swim volume in the same amount of time as everybody else. Get in more yards. Because endurance is a volume game. And in the pool, a lot of adult onset swimmers have the habit of hanging out at the end of the pool and chatting. And it happens to me too. If either I recognize somebody and I'll start talking, but I've tried to avoid that. And then the other thing is somebody recognizes you or asks you a question, and then you got to answer the question, and then you end up talking and da-da-da-da, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, the trick is when you get to the pool and you start to swim, you're about to start swimming, take all of your swim bag of goodies, like if you have any drill tools like paddles and fins and kickboard and stuff like that. And I have a cup of ice water. Today it was iced green tea. And take it to the opposite end of the pool of everybody else, where everybody else is keeping all their stuff. And then start all your swimming from that end of the pool instead. And now every time you stop, there's nobody there. There's nobody to interrupt you and start talking, and there's nobody to for you to start talking to. There's nobody to ask you if they can share your lane and all that other stuff, and you just swim. It's okay. It really works. It's really amazing. People ask me all the time how I get in such large volume numbers. I swam 4,000 yards today, 4,025 nonstop. Although I did stop to get a sip of water, my green tea, every 10, 15 minutes or so. I was thirsty this morning because I ran outside last night, got a little dehydrated. And at the other end of the pool, there was these guys that usually talk to me. And I cut that off at the legs. Okay, let's see. Kai's race, he started at 10 a.m. And it's a very slight uphill start. And mountain biking, it's a mass start. Probably, 40 people in his wave. And they seed them at the front based on last year's times. For the first race of this year, they seed you on last year's times. And Kai didn't race mountain biking last year. He did other stuff. We did Xterras and all that. So he had no seed time, so they naturally seeded him at the back, which he was not excited about. And it's not only that, do you have to pass all these people in front of you that are slower than you, maybe, I don't know, and depends on you. And the other thing is the races have already started with other waves, so it doesn't help. It's already bad enough, is what I'm saying, that you got to pass people that are on the course, that 8th graders and middle schoolers and stuff that are having trouble and are just not as fast, and you've got to get past them, which is really difficult in mountain biking. That's part of it, is as you get to be an older adult, you get really good at pleasantly asking when you're out mountain biking, just for fun. As soon as you get behind somebody that's slower than you, you go, "Hey, can I pass?" Like that. That's what I say. "Mind if I pass?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." Instead of waiting and freewheeling and hoping that they hear you. As you get like in your 40s, you realize life is short. Start asking. So it's a skill on how to get around people. So if I was Kai's age, knowing what I know now, I would say, "Hey, can I pass?" Like that. Passing, or just demand it. Passing, like that. And if they respond, good. If they don't respond, well, at least you tried. Anyway, let's see. It was 2 laps of a 4.5 mile course, I think. And so it took them 40 something minutes, and it had cool little obstacles and stuff. It's a really neat course with some history behind it. It's a Texas cattle ranch where the owner had 2 boys that were into mountain biking. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and were really talented, and so they started building bike courses on their own property, and next thing you know, they became famous for it, and everybody starts practicing there, and now there's races there. the Beckett boys, I think, or Sackett, Sackett, Sackett Ranch. It's a pretty neat story. Anyway, they took off. Kai immediately was passing people, and then you don't see him for a while, and Emily and I are running around trying to get pictures and video. And then after the race, the type of questions I asked were, did you crash at all? Nope, never crashed. That's pretty good. It had some tough obstacles on it. Were you tired at the end? See, that tells me if his training is good. And he said, nope. First loop, he said he felt sick. And he made a mistake that I had to point out to him afterwards. They had a team breakfast, and Emily had taken Kai to go get breakfast tacos down where all the food vendor stuff was, and that's fatty, greasy stuff. And the team breakfast that Kai missed, and they were looking for him, was oatmeal and berries and good stuff and for racing. And but Kai wore a Camelback with water in it, and I told him, well, the water in the Camelback probably helped dilute his that food. So normally I wouldn't wear a Camelback with water unless it was hot, and it was not hot. But because it's such a short race, you don't really need it. But accidentally, this time it was smart because it helped dilute the food and made him feel better. And on the second lap, he felt great, and that's really cool. So training is pretty good. Training spot on. One of his coaches afterwards, and then, oh, by the way, I got pulled into being a coach. Yeah. So here we go again. And the one of the coaches asked, "What is Kai's training plan?" And because I didn't have opportunity to think about it, what am I doing like training Kai? Because they're shocked at how good Kai is because he's new to the team, and he was like their second or first fastest kid or something like that on the entire team, maybe. And I said, oh, we train together and we do long bike rides, sorta, and on occasion I'll have him do like an interval ride on the indoor trainer. We didn't sign up for any morning sports that are really early, so he gets lots of sleep, and yada, 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 as I said earlier. There's, I don't know, just really smart rest and recuperation and training at the right times, and not doing too much, but doing the right stuff, but not too much of the wrong stuff. And I said, oh, okay. Now with time passed, I realized the thing I should have added in there is Kai rides his bike everywhere. He loves riding his bike, and he grew up on a bicycle on purpose. I made that happen. And he bikes to school, he bikes home from school, he bikes to go see his friends, he bikes to go see his girlfriend. We purposefully live in a neighborhood where everything's connected by sidewalks and bike paths. We purposefully live in a city where there's a lot of bike lanes, and Kai's car is his bike, and he just bikes everywhere. And I think the sheer volume of how much he rides is really high, and it's playful riding, and his friends are all bikers and they do dumb stunts on bikes, and that's how they go have fun, is they go ride bikes. And that's probably a lot of it. That's probably like 80% of it is just sheer volume of playing around. Okay, so bike gear that's interesting is he was on not a cross-country race bike, hardtail, but on a full suspension. It's a giant, what's it called? It's about an $1,800, $1,600 full suspension trail bike, not a cross-country bike. And trail bikes are made for a little bit more crazy riding, like stunt kind of stuff, just a little bit more. It's not an enduro bike, and it's definitely not a downhill bike. Oh my gosh. And The interesting thing about his bike is he's riding on plus size tires. So 650B plus size, which are these bigger tires and with full suspension. And it turns out he's really fast on it, like really fast, compared to these 2.9er, just a little bit skinnier tires, or much skinnier tires, hardtails and stuff like that. And I think honestly, it gives him more confidence in the turns and better traction, even though it's a slightly heavier bike and it doesn't climb as good. There's the belief right now that mountain bike courses are getting more technical and more obstacles and more silly crap in it, and that kind of stuff favors a bigger, wider tires and more suspension and softer tires for better control and confidence going up and over stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot of podcasts out right now talking about tire size and rolling resistance, and bigger is definitely better most of the time. It's just not very aerodynamic, but in mountain biking, whatever. So it's just really interesting. After the race, I looked at a lot of the videos, and a lot of the kids are on in the front, towards the front, are on 29ers with a little bit the normal mountain bike tire, a little skinnier tires, not plus size tires, and a mix of hardtail and light rear suspension and more cross country style geometry. And we put Kai on my bike, switched out my bike, which is a hardtail cross country bike, 29er with narrower tires than his, and he tried it and didn't like it. I said, it's faster. It's proven to be faster, and you can lock out the front fork with a thumb switch, and his has a no front lockout with a thumb switch, but it's got a dropper post. Mine doesn't have a dropper post. And I said, just try it. And I went for a run and then came back and did some stuff and whatever, and then I found that my bike, his bike was switched back, his grips and everything, for him to ride on it instead of my bike. And I said, what happened? And he goes, I didn't like it. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. He's only a freshman and there's lots of time, and I'm not even sure I was right. So, all right, that's it. I got to go inside, and we will pick up with more of the training log here in a second. Be right back. All right, time to start a new training log. Had an epic run this morning, and I wanted to share it with all y'all. The Southern plural possessive, and I'm on my way to W to the ERK. Only swam yesterday, and then did Kai's Boy Scout meeting last night. Adult leader in his Boy Scout troop, so did a bunch of that. Got to adjust the steering wheel here because Kai was driving. He's got his learner's permit, dun dun dun, which is both scary and nice because now I don't have to drive everywhere. I can sit in the passenger seat and do other stuff and give advice, which apparently that's all I do anyway. But let's see, epic run. I finished my run this morning running at the same pace to do a sub 10 hour Ironman. And you may say, what's that pace? And it's about an 8.5 minute mile for the marathon. So there's standards that if you know them, you set your goals on them, and you try to attain those. I've got a really cool standard here I'll talk about in a second. The 440 watts average for an hour if you want to Let me move this bag right here. If you want to try to take the hour record on the bike, riding around a velodrome for an hour. I think Bradley Wiggins averaged 440 watts. There's a cool video on GCN where they have 3 different types of riders. They have a amateur and a beginner-ish, a novice, and that does like to bike, but he doesn't train much. And then a amateur that's pretty good. I'd say kind of like one of us. Here's a car coming, 2 cars with no headlights on. It's one of my advice tips to Kai. Don't pull out on a road without looking twice, because you can't see. Somebody's really coming. Anyway, for an Ironman, if you want to break 10 hours, which is an amazing goal, then it's about an 8.5 minute mile on the run, about a 5-hour bike, which is like 22 something miles per hour, and then about an hour swim. If you can string all those together, then you are a badass. And what's funny is all of those things, hour swim that's pretty good. That takes lots of technique and years of training. But the other 2, you can get relatively quickly if you train right. But what's funny is those aren't crazy fast speeds, like if you compare it to the best in the world, like the Olympians and all that stuff, like that hour record, 440 watts. For me to do a 22 miles per hour on the bike for a Ironman, I'm averaging about 225 watts, 230 watts. So about half that, the marathon pace, 8.5 minute mile, that isn't anywhere near. Everything seems to be about half. That's about half of the pace of a marathoner. What does a marathoner run in the Olympics? Is it like a 5-minute mile? Is it less than that? I don't know. But it's crazy. So you don't actually have to be talented. You don't have to be gifted as a triathlete to be competitive at the top end of stuff. You just need to be average, but then train right. There is a pickup truck with 2 black labs in the back of it right here. Very cute, but also illegal within the city limits unless they're tied down. I can't see from here. And let me catch back up here. So I was recovering from injuries, which I've been talking about on podcasts, and the goal is to try to get back up to my running speed. My cruising speed, I've never run an 8.5 minute mile in an Ironman. I've come close, but I've run a 7-something in a half Ironman. But the goal is to get my cruising speed back up where I'm just jogging along and back to that pace. Whatever you do as your easy cruising speed, your zone 2, jogging along without thinking about it too much, talking while running, that would be, you'd be lucky to hit that pace on the run in an Ironman average. I would probably take 15 seconds per mile to half a minute per mile off that. Add to it slower, and that would probably be your average pace if everything goes right. Because just the bike, after all that biking, you're kind of worn out. So you slow down a little bit, and you're walking aid stations and stuff. But anywho, this morning, well, let's start back. Starting 2 years ago when I started being injured, trying to figure it out, and then now, a few months ago maybe, I started noticing that I was changing up my training a little bit. I was getting smarter about something, and my legs were starting to come back, and my run speeds were picking up. And The way I like to run on I guess it was probably running on the treadmill that did it, letting everything heal up, running on perfectly flat stuff and predictable, controlling all the variables, so that I could fix things one at a time. And the run speed started picking up, and I've been keeping track of it. On my phone, as I run, I have a checklist. I have an app where I write down my current speed every 5 minutes on the treadmill. My treadmill does a crappy job of doing minute per mile, so I write down miles per hour. That's what it shows easier. And as I write it down, I keep a log from the previous ones, and I do smiley faces and frowny faces, also emoticons on there, if I'm going faster than last time or slower than last time. And it's not, I can always go faster than last time, but that's not smart. I'm not pushing myself, I'm just jogging. And so then I make notes after my run, what was different? What did I eat different? Did I get more rest? Did I work out less and now I'm faster? Stuff like that. And I've got months and months of backlog where I can see my progression. And today was, the past few months, it's been getting massively better. And today I hit 7.1 miles per hour on the treadmill at zone 2.5, just kind of jogging along, a little bit more than jogging along, but it was very comfortable. And at an hour at the end, what I do is I start off around 4 miles per hour, and I just slowly increase the speed as things start to loosen up and loosen up and loosen up. That way I'm not pushing too hard too early. So the first 10, 20 minutes pretty much counts as my warm-up. And at the end, I hit 7.1 miles per hour. And when I was done, I looked it up on the treadmill conversion chart. You can look up miles per hour and see what that minute per mile pace is. And it was an 8:35. And I was like, yes, absolutely yes. And I felt great. And the other thing was no pain. Absolutely no pain. And that's a big deal too. So if I'm doing every 5 minutes, I write down while I'm running, I write down what how I feel as well, if there's any weird pains and stuff like that. I got stuff at like 32 minutes in, left butt cheek started hurting. 15 minutes in, right, foot hurting, right heel hurting. A very crucial thing is after about 10 minutes of warming up, I do 5 and then 10. You document and compare how fast you're going, how slow you are when you first start going, like during your warm-up. If you just start pedaling along or running along or something along, will tell you everything about how your workout should be. If you are slow during your warm-up compared to other times during your warm-up, you are going to have a crappy workout. And you ought to consider just going easy and letting things loosen up if you do anything at all. And you don't know this though unless you know your beginning speeds and you can compare them, and how long it takes you to get, say you're on the bike and my happy speed is around 250 watts. When I hit 250 watts on the bike, that means everything's loosened up and I'm feeling good. So I write down how long it takes me to get to 250 watts. If I get to 250 watts in less than 10 minutes, then it's a good day to do intervals and stuff like that. But if it's a real struggle to get to 250 watts and it takes like 15 minutes, then I got problems and I just need to ride easy. Okay, we will come back and talk about this 440 watt average pace here in just a second. Be right back. All right, we are back. ZenTri Mobile Studios. Do you ever hear that sound, that it's the mud tires on the not really mud tires, off-road tires on the ZenTri Mobile Studios. It's really cold outside. It's below freezing this morning, so I think the tires are harder maybe, so they make a little bit more noise. Anyway, stuff to know about your bike tires. Anyway, nice little swim this morning. And I wanted to pick up about that 440 watts that I spoke about. Real life, it's been 2 days ago. But GCN, Global Cycling Network, did an episode where they took 3 guys and they tried to see how long they could hold 440 watts. Because a real world record for the how far you can bike in 1 hour is, I think it's Bradley Wiggins, and I don't know if he still holds the record or somebody's beaten it already. But anyway, I forgot how many miles it is, but to do it, he pedaled 440 watts. That's like microwave for an hour. And it's really interesting. People produce power different ways based on your training, your genetic makeup, and what systems you've trained. You definitely have 2 different systems. You can produce power with sugar and muscle strength, and it's very temporary but explosive. And sprinters have that. When I was a sprint freestyler, I definitely I'm more of a sprinter, apparently, at least with my upper body muscles. And then the other way is by metabolism of fuel and oxygen, that it's more of a longer term method, but you've done, so you're just genetically really good at it, and you've trained it so that your systems can convert all that to energy for long periods of time very effectively, and it doesn't exhaust you. So they have a new presenter, a new host. He's a freshly retired, I think, professional cyclist, and he did. Remember, the one guy did it. The very beginner novice guy did it for 40 seconds, and the guy that would be one of a half Ironman kind of guy. He's not a triathlete, but he likes doing time trials and stuff like that. So he did it for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or something like that, which is pretty impressive. And then the professional cyclist, who also is the tallest cyclist, I think he's 2 meters and 4 centimeters tall, whatever that is in feet. He did it for 40-something minutes before he quit. This shows you the difference. It's somebody that's been training, professionally, and it was really cool. So there's another podcast, Cycling News, or I can't remember what it's called, but they go in depth about this. You produce power different ways, and on GCN too. A video that's related to that one is they talk about this, and just because somebody has an FTP, an FTP doesn't really tell you anything except for how good they are for 1 hour. In another video, they took a professional BMX rider, that's who it was, and he could generate huge amounts of power, 1,400 watts, for very short periods of time, because that's what he's trained for, because they hammer and then, jump and then coast, and then hammer and then coast. So it's all really what you train for. It was really neat. And long-distance triathlon depends on the course that you're training for, but really what you need to train for is to be able to go easy at a high wattage, kind of like what that professional cyclist did. You want to be able to sustain a high wattage for a long period of time. And just doing sprints and nothing else is not really the way to get there. So one way to get there is you do really hard weightlifting style intervals, like, very short ones and repeats. But then you immediately afterwards, warming up for, and then immediately afterwards, you pedal along easy, or swim along easy, or run along easy, to let your body absorb and reuse and recycle and clear out all the good stuff that your body needs to do with lactic acid and fatigue. And because realistically, that's what happens in a long-distance triathlon. Let's say on the bike, you're biking along, and you've got to put the power down briefly to get around somebody, but then you need to pedal easy. You need to not blow yourself out too often in long-distance triathlon, because it starts to damage your run. I think after 3 times of hard stuff. So what you can do is you train easy so that you're very efficient and you can go a long time, get in lots of miles. But then you mix in really hard efforts for very short amount of times. Something rattling right there. It's my green tea. You mix in very hard efforts for short amount of times to expose your body to these surges that do happen. And and then also to keep going afterwards, easy, nice and easy. And what that does is it teaches your body to become immune to that stuff, and you can keep going. And then also it makes you stronger, and then your baseline easy starts lifting. High tide lifts all boats. I don't know if it's high tide, but incoming tide lifts all boats. So it's good stuff. Swimming this morning, 3,700 yards. I did 6 sets of 10 minutes. The last 50 to 75 yards of each 10 minutes, I did sprint, really hard pull so that it burned, and then rested for a minute, and then went back to swimming easy again, just like I was talking about. Really nice swim. My left shoulder hurts. Got a little bit of bursitis on the top from lifting something or whatever. Got to be careful with that. Anyways, that's it. I got to go into W to the ERK. Out. Hey, rock stars. I had a glorious Zen run this morning. I'll tell you why in just a second. Well, actually pretty much right now. First, I'm going to say that yesterday morning, I did intervals on the bike. And maybe it was just, no, it was 2 days ago evening, I did intervals on the bike. That's what it was. Yesterday morning, I swam. 2 days ago evening, I did intervals on the bike. And what I did is I warmed up forever. And then I did, like 5 or 6 eventually by the end of the hour. Really hard intervals. And we were just talking about this 440 watts. I think one time I hit 440 watts. So I was probably doing, 350 to 400 watts for brief amounts of time. And that's all I could do because I haven't done, I'm talking like really brief, like 30 seconds to a minute. And that's all I could do because I hardly ever do those. But that goes back to our different training systems, our different body systems and whatever you train for. And because I hardly ever do them, I'm not very good at them, but because I do lots of long distance riding, I've trained myself to be pretty good at that. So I can ride 2 hours at, 260. I've got a workout where I did a year ago or something like that, 270 watts for 2 hours. And that was really cool. But that's 270 watts, so that's not 440. But anyway, I was fine afterwards, felt good. But knowing that I hadn't done it in a while, I was like, well, let's see how this works out. Let's pay attention and be gentle with yourself And yesterday morning swim was doing fine, and which I think we already talked about. And then last night I said, I'm going to run. I felt like running, and I got on the treadmill and started running. This was after work, but before dinner. Had plenty of energy. Heart rate was a little low. I was a little tired, but not too much, just a tiny bit. And like I said, you can totally predict what your training is going to be like, what your workout's going to be like, based on your warm-up. And my warm-up was one of these, the following. I get these a lot. Well, not a lot, but I know what this is. I'm all wobbly. My form is crazy all over the place. Like neurologically, I'm damaged or something. And I'm struggling to have nice, clean form. And my feet are tight. My lower legs are tight. And that is from the body still recovering, the lower legs still recovering from that bike ride with the hard intervals. But I was going really fast compared to usual. And I thought, well, that's interesting. But it was kind of wearing me out, all this stuff. So I ran just over half an hour, and I walked a little bit for a few minutes, and then decided just to cash it in and go, you know what? This is not being productive. And I got off the trainer, had a beer and a dinner, and went to bed. Had some ice cream. Went to bed. Woke up this morning. Everything was set up for the treadmill. So I got back on the treadmill this morning after a night's rest and had a fantastic run. And all that wobbly, banged up running, all that had actually improved and helped me recover. You know, I'd gotten blood flow, I'd worked out the tightness a little bit, but I didn't do too much, so it was basically like smoothing things out the night before. And this morning had a wonderful run. Now, on top of that, I decided this morning to have a Zen run. And what that means is not looking at any numbers and responding only to what the body says, going by feel and ignoring the numbers. And the way you do that is you cover up the numbers on your treadmill and you just go by whatever it feels like. You have a clock. And what else did I have? I have my cadence. I can see my cadence clock. I think that's it. I'll remember the other thing. There's 3 things, but heart rate. Dirt. And by the end of the run of an hour on the treadmill, and I was first I started off listening to podcasts. Velo News is a good podcast. I was listening to them, and then I eventually switch over to music whenever I get bored of people talking or get annoyed with people talking. I switch over to music, and I'm running to a video of through the woods point of view of a jog or a bike or a hike or something like that. It's beautiful. And by the end of the run, I was running a 9-minute mile, a high 8, low 9, and feeling great at a nice heart rate, 140, and just jogging along real smooth. Everything was all worked out. Felt great. Felt really rejuvenated and fresh and happy. And I knew that by responding to my body, I had actually gotten in a good workout. And here's a trick. You start running on the treadmill. This is what I do. I start running at 4 miles per hour on the treadmill. That is the slowest jog possible. And then pretty quickly, like within a few minutes, you're up to 4.5, 5 miles per hour. And anyway, what you do is listen for, feel for your toes starting to hit the end of the treadmill on the front. And when they start to hit the treadmill, you increase it by 1/10 or 2/10 of a mile per hour. This is while all while keeping your heart rate in the range that you want to keep it in. So I'm watching my heart rate. Heart rate's still in zone 2. And as the legs start to stretch out and the body form gets more efficient, you start running off the front of the treadmill. Increase it just a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. It's very gentle over an hour. And by the end of the hour, I was running at 6.7 miles per hour. And then if you make a mistake and you start sensing that you're having to struggle to keep up the pace, and you just back it down. You have to have that willpower. Don't try to make it happen. Kind of back it down. Just tap it in. Tap it in. And yeah, so I get off the treadmill, shut everything down, leave the fans on around the room on low to help ventilate the room out, and then go out into the backyard. We've got a pool. The pool is freezing cold. So I stand on the steps of the pool and let my feet soak in that cold water, which is kind of like up to my knees. And that's kind of a ice bath in a weird way. And I write notes on my run and how it went. Things like, I finished at 6.7 miles per hour. And I was sitting there enjoying a little bit of music and letting the ice on my feet, ice water, sort of. And I started hearing roosters crowing, and it made me smile. And I was like, oh, this is a really good run. Because look at you, Brett. You're all happy. And, no foot pain, nothing, no injury. Whatever, form was really nice. And the rooster situation goes like this. There's an elementary school near us. We live in a typical subdivision where there's no farm animals allowed. You can have cats and dogs and stuff. But we do live in Texas and on the edge of the city limit. So there are farm animals and countryside immediately, within a quarter of a mile. But the elementary school that is within an eighth of a mile of us, maybe a quarter of a mile, has a project with students where they teach them a little, just a tiny bit, as much as city kids can, about farm animals. And they raise roosters. And sometimes while running on the sidewalk that goes around my neighborhood, I've found roosters walking around. They've gotten out of their cage, chickens and roosters. And it's really cool, actually. And you can tell that a workout is good, that you're in a good place when little things kind of make you happy and kind of make you smile. It was really nice. So again, Zen Run, turning off all the numbers and just going by feel. Only increasing pace as you're running off the end. And today's going to be a good day. And quitting a workout when you feel banged up. And but working out some, but just not pushing it and cutting it short. And that's how you do things. And the next day, everything's better. Gotta have that self-control. All right, out. I'll be back. Hey, on my way to lunch, gonna go grab a vegan cheese sandwich. Oh, the cheese isn't vegan. So I guess vegetarian. At Schlotsky's. It's a Texas-based restaurant. I used to work there a long time ago. And, almost dropped the mic. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about something cool. I've been setting PRs mountain biking lately. I'm not exactly how sure this is useful for on-road. It might be a little bit. But watching all this cyclocross on TV, on my time on the indoor bike, I've noticed Vanderpool he's a freak. Like, he's Saganish good. Like Peter Sagan. Just, you're wondering what they're doing, how they're so much better than everybody else so effortlessly. And I noticed something. That Vanderpool is a little bit bigger than the other guys. He's like taller and his shoulders are a little bit wider. So he's got more mass. And mass, once it gets moving, has more momentum. And this is in cyclocross specifically, you can see it. He might be doing it mountain biking too, but he swings wider than other people around turns. like a lot wider. And there's two things going on there. One is mass has momentum, it's really an unfortunate circumstance if you have to slow down and then reaccelerate. And if you think it's bad in cars and wasteful in fuel, then like coming to a stop sign when you don't really have to, you should see it on bikes. That's why people want the biking laws changed, where stop signs are changed to yield signs for cyclists, because reaccelerating is so much work. So he's got more mass and he's swinging wider through turns. It looks like it's allowing him to keep up his momentum. And then once he's mastered this, because he's been doing it his whole life, then he doesn't have to reaccelerate as much, even though it's a wider turn and it's a little bit longer distance. Maybe because there would be a counter argument. Well, but going further because it's a wider turn is, more than breaks even, or doesn't really help the fact that he's keeping up momentum. But maybe it looks like it does, because it's pretty impressive, and that's something that he does. And then the other thing is, when you swing wider in a turn and you keep up your speed, you bank more. And then when you're banking more, you might be... What I've noticed mountain biking is, if you go wider into a turn and lean more, then when you come out of the turn and you straighten back up, you can kind of pump out of the turn a little bit. And there's this thing in cycling called pump tracks, where without hardly pedaling at all, you can pump the bike up and down. You can do the same thing on a surfboard, on a canoe. You can bounce up and down, and it will actually start propelling you forward. You can do it on a skateboard, left to right, with the front. It seems odd that it would work at all, but it does. And so two times now, the two times that I've done this mountain biking, I've set PRs all over the place on my 2-hour mountain bike route that I go on. Much faster and much more pleasurable too, by keeping up speed in the turns and using the very edge of the trail-ish to kind of act as a surface to bank against, kind of like a slope track, a sloped oval. And it seems like if you don't have enough speed, you're only going a couple miles an hour, it's not really worth it. Take the inside line. But once you get up enough speed, there's a Kia Telluride in all black. That's a nice looking one. Once you got up enough speed, and it doesn't seem like it's all that much, and you don't need any really embankment built on the trail. The natural U-shape of the trail, of pretty much any trail, kind of already provides enough that what I find myself doing is going on purpose to get that lean. This is kind of like I'm backfilling the whole problem. Is I'm like, okay, I want to lean more. I want to get more lean in my turns. And then the side effect of that is I'm actually going faster over the course entirely. Because to get that lean, I got to go faster. Well, then I'm going hotter in the turns. And then I'm coming out of the turn faster. And then I'm kind of pumping out of the turn a little bit. I'm totally not doing that on purpose. I think it's maybe like a totally on its own side effect. And this all started, oddly enough, when I began mountain biking a few days after I rode a mountain bike course in Tyler, Leander Park. It began with an L, and it's got this mountain bike course there. Let me check, make sure I'm in a parking spot. Yep, it's got a mountain bike course there that the locals, the kids and young adults, have built just crazy, like berms and just wild stuff. And and it's a generally smooth track without too many roots or rocks. So I found myself wanting to keep up speed so I could go up onto the sides. And once I got comfortable doing that, then I found myself doing it more on flatter courses without all the berms built on the side. So that was a few days before Christmas, and then it was Christmas Day. Kai and I went mountain biking, and I set this crazy fast PR because on this course, this course near my house, it's not in Tyler, because I was riding. I'd gained confidence to go hotter in the turns and lean more, and then I did a couple rides since then, same place. I was kind of tired, just kind of off and but not really that into it. And then after watching Vanderpool and cyclocross yesterday morning, I decided to put it to work again while riding Milliken, and boom, did it again and set new PRs on top of PRs, stacks on stacks on stacks. And it works. It really, really works. I need to go into Schlotsky's and order my sandwich, but I'll be back to talk about that and green tea and some you can stuff. All right? Be right back. Hey, I'm back. This is cool. I found a way on the Apple memos to continue recording. Yes, sir.
Is my wallet in here?
Oh.
I know where it is.
Okay. Bye. Kai's looking for his wallet. We're starting something I learned long ago. The only thing, well, several things I learned from the Adam Carolla podcast, in spite of him being somewhat unique and of questionable taste. I do like his humor. But anyway, is put a bowl. We put a wicker basket. That's what we did. By the front door, so that when you walk in, so we had hooks behind the door and a tiny, thin little crappy shelf. I mean, like 2 inches deep. It's stupid. And it's behind the door. So you're going to close the door and then turn around and then put stuff on there? No. So I kept telling Emily. I kept putting a bowl there over and over and over again, and she kept moving it and putting it back. Or putting it away. Put a bowl so that when you walk in the door and you take a couple steps, you put your keys in it. And what's really weird, and then you'll never lose your keys. And what's really weird is that after a while you want to do it. That's the weird thing. If it's a bowl that you like. And so what I've noticed, we got a wicker basket, and now that there's 3 of us putting keys and wallets and stuff in there, the basket's too small. It's a small wicker basket. We went to At Home and went shopping. And another trick I pulled on Emily was I said, you pick out the basket. Let's go to At Home and you pick out a basket so we can do that. Now see, then she has ownership over it. It's kind of like letting somebody pick their own workout. We need to do an interval workout. You go pick one out. And then they start getting interested. They're engaged. And they want to do it. All right. I said I'd talk about UCAN and green tea. But I have one more thing to add before we do that is the electronic shifting I've been rambling on and on about on my mountain bike, which is awesome. I also, I didn't forget to charge it. I just thought it was fine. I checked it a few weeks ago. I don't really know how long ago I checked it. I felt like it was really recently, and it had like 2/3 of a battery left. And the battery just kind of depends on how much you shift and how much you ride. Well, it ran out at the very end on the last hill of my 2-hour ride, and I didn't get to mention this the last part. I was trying to set, I wasn't trying the whole ride. At the end of the ride, I was like, oh, I might set a PR on this huge 2-hour loop. And then my shifting goes out with 1.5 hills left. So half of a hill, I'm climbing it, shifting goes out, and then I start going downhill, and I cannot accelerate because my shifting is set in too tiny of a gear. And so I just went into aero tuck, and then another hill, spinning, as fast as I can, and then arrow tuck, and then got back to the parking lot, and still set a PR, but probably by like 2 seconds because of that problem. But that's been my incident. I was really lucky that the battery went out at the very, very end of my ride, and thank God it went out in a small gear. If I had spare cash, I would get a spare battery and then put it in a Ziploc, keep it charged in my saddlebag. But I do not have that kind of disposable income at the moment, so I need to put that thing on a charger. And I put it on the charger for a little bit to take it to the bike shop. Okay, so, and another disaster is my treadmill buttons. I have they've stopped working. I have a Proform, either a 930 or a 950 CST. I took a picture of it. Let me look. See if I can find the picture. In case any of y'all have advice. It is a 905. Oh, I was off. 905 CST. And the buttons have started going bad. First it's the lower row of buttons, and they do minor little things, like the quick incline, like by 1%. And that went out first, and I was like, well, okay, I'll see if it comes back. I don't know why I thought that. And then first the incline up went out, then the incline down. I don't know which one's first. And it's been progressing like cancer. I got treadmill cancer across the bottom row of buttons. And now it moved across to the start-stop button. And then it's now progressed to the incline is on the right-hand side of that lower tray. So I put together the treadmill myself, and I'm suspicious that there's like a clip of buttons that you clip in, cables, wires, whatever. That has it's like a little miniature harness that you clip in. I bet the harness is bad, or it's gotten humid. So I'm gonna try taking it apart. First, I'm gonna search on Google for Proform 905 CST buttons not working, and then search the internet. And then what I learned from triathlon coaching is, as soon as you can, search for videos. That's how you fix your running form, by the way. Okay, then nice treadmill run this morning, 6.5 miles, finishing at 7.2 miles per hour, which is a low 8-minute mile. Feeling really good. And then let's get to the UCAN and green tea. Tim O'Donnell is probably considered the fastest American at Kona. He routinely gets top whatever at Kona, top 5, over and over again. Hasn't broken through to a total win. The Europeans keep doing that, and Australians. But he, as far as Americans go, he's the one that pulls through all the way to the end. We have other Americans that are fantastic, but they blow up before they get there. And before they get to the finish line, Andy Potts, Starkwoods, Wicks, other guys. But anyway, he started a thread on Slow Twitch talking about his use of UCAN. So UCAN is a super starch. They used to be a sponsor of the show. I probably still have a discount code somewhere. But I don't know if UCAN's corn or potato. I think it's probably corn. And what happens is they take the starch, heat it up, and then cool it. And what that does is it turns the starch into these like platelets that makes it harder to digest, or takes longer to digest, but it's still carbs. And there's no fiber, but it kind of acts like fiber in that it takes a long time. So it's a slow-acting carb, very slow-acting carb. And reading the thread and stuff, I decided to try it. He was using, I don't know how many calories, let's say 100 calories if you can per hour, plus other stuff, like lots of other stuff. So we're talking 400 calories per hour probably on the bike. But the use of UCAN, what that does is it gives you stable energy. So if you have a house or building, that's your foundation, right? You don't want to put too much horsepower on top of that thing or it's going to wreck the foundation. You need a strong foundation. All this fast-acting fuel gives you highs and terrible lows, and this swing. And slow-acting fuel will protect the bottom so that you don't. It's like camis. It's like cycling shorts for your fueling. It'll keep you from bottoming out so hard and keep things nice and stable. And he credited that with a really good performance in Kona. That's what he's been using. And I had some laying around. It's a little bit old, but I had it. And I used it on my long workouts last weekend and really liked it. And it made me think. The difference was when I used to do UCAN, it used to be pretty much just UCAN and then nothing else. The way Timothy O'Donnell's using it, and maybe another way to think about using it, is mixing it with other fuels. So it's a combo. So you have fast, medium, and slow. So fast would be simple sugars, fructose, sucrose. Medium could be maltodextrin. Sometimes maltodextrin is pretty fast. It just kind of depends. And then, but anyway, at least it's a mix. And then really slow, so that if you burn through stuff too fast, if your blood sugar gets too high and then your insulin overreacts, you've got carbs on board in your gut to fill the gap. It's like a much slower trickle, but it builds the foundation so that you don't bottom out really hard. And so anyway, I tried that this weekend. I did like 100 calories of UCAN and like 100 calories of, well, it was like 50 calories of simple sugars, and then 100 calories of maltodextrin and salt all together, like per hour. I don't know if it was quite that much. That's a little bit high. Anyway, it was like 250, and it worked great. I felt really good. And also, by the way, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, not heaping, just level, per liter of water. And I put that, so on a mountain bike, I have a Camelback that's about 2 liters of water, just over 2 liters. And I put in half a teaspoon, so yeah, 1/4, half a teaspoon of salt in the water as I was adding the water in and filling it up from a mountain bike ride. And what it does is it makes the water stick. It's just salty enough. And you can tell that works because later in the day, when you're done, you're not craving salt. Now you can tell if you took too much salt because your feet will swell up. The tops of your feet, you won't be able to see your veins anymore. That's when you're overhydrated from too much salt. So last thing I wanted to mention was green tea. Another thing I've been trying out, and I really like, because it makes you feel good, is 1 serving of green tea per hour while working out. Not early in the morning on the bike or on the run, because I've already had coffee. I don't really need it. But any other time of day. It's like green tea is like 50 or 60 milligrams of caffeine, maybe less, maybe it's like 30. I don't know, but it's about half as much as coffee. And then green tea also has, it's good for you. It's good for your teeth, by the way. It has, it's got a little bit of fluoride in it, I think, which is good for your teeth. And then it has L-theanine, I think is the protein, the amino acid in there. And L-theanine, you can buy that at the grocery store to make you feel better. Well, green tea has it in there naturally. And they didn't know this for generations, for eons. But in Zen and pretty much Zen practice, when they meditate, whoa, I just saw a car pull out in front of another car. That was nuts. In meditation and in Zen study, they always talk about green tea. And they say it puts a sparkle in your eye. So the caffeine kind of wakes you up, and then nicely, but not too much like coffee does. And then the L-theanine makes you feel good. So you're awake and you feel good. And that helps you meditate. So the way I put it in my workout fuel is, I wonder if these people in front of me are going to have a discussion about how the one car pulled out so hard in front of the other. I'm behind them now. The way I do it two different ways in my workout fuel. I definitely like one way better. The better way is to make green tea with green tea packets. You can either put it in the microwave for a minute in a coffee mug, and that's about right. That'll make it nice and hot. Green tea is supposed to sit about 4 minutes before it's done. And then I'll mix that into my fuel bottles, and I'll make if I'm going to do like 2-hour workout, I'll do 2 bags of green tea in 1 coffee mug with water, heat that up, because it's going to end up being added to water anyway. I find that this way you tend to your green tea tends to be no residue. It's cleaner, it's easier to clean out whatever you use in, whether you're using a fuel bottle or a Camelback bladder. The other way is matcha powder. Matcha powder is M-A-T-C-H-A. It's ground up green tea. And the upside is it mixes instantly. The downside is it's powder, and it's while it's got fiber in it, which is kind of good for you, it's also leaves residue in your, if you put it in your Camelback bladder, now you've got matcha powder residue later that you got to clean out. Where if you just did the green tea drink water, green tea bag water, then you probably won't need to clean it anywhere near as much or as soon. But anyway, I've noticed that I feel good the entire workout. I'm having a nice time, and it's not too much, so you're like, you just think that you're having a good time, and then later you go, man, that was really great. What was different about that? You're like, oh yeah, the green tea. Okay, I need to go into W to the ERK. I'll be right back. Out. All right, leaving the pool. Another great swim. Man, that UCAN stuff is perfect for swimming. Perfect. One serving, about half an hour before you swim. And then when you're in the water, cranking out laps, you never get tired at the end. And if anything, energy starts pouring on. It's really cool. And then that's one less thing to take with you to the pool, like a Gatorade bottle or something like that. I still bring ice water because I get hot in the pool, because it's kept at, this jazzercise temperature for little old ladies and old men who don't want to get cold. Anyway, just passed a Honda Ridgeline in the parking lot, which, if I wasn't so tall, it would be the perfect car for me. That thing is amazing with its trunk in the bed. I have a friend that has one. It is something else, man. It's really cool. Okay, my treadmill broke. The button stopped working, and then I started going online and looking, and people were saying, you take off the the stickers on the panel because there's stuff under there and all that. And I mean, I definitely know that that's the problem, but I might have ruined my treadmill. So now I got to start running outside more. Oh, so I got to be careful with my foot injury. The whole reason I got over my foot injury and strained calf was running indoors in a very controlled environment. And I guess my controlled environment is kicking me out of the house. I have a Proform 905 CST. And the thing supposedly to do is to take the... one thing that I might be able to do is replace the head unit, like the whole dashboard thing. I'm very much opposed to throwing it out just because some buttons stopped working. I'm opposed to replacing the head unit. I wish I could just clean whatever it is that's screwed up. And but I tried, and I know I'm talking away from the mic, but don't know what to do. Anyway, the other thing is, let's see. Oh man, so much cool stuff. I discovered a 500-mile gravel. It's probably, I don't know how much of it's gravel. I need to look more at the website. I know the first, 10 miles at least probably is road, but that's probably a lot of races like that. You got to start off on pavement to get to the gravel. But it goes through the pine forest of East Texas. I posted a picture of it on Instagram, ZenTri, a picture of the route. And that looks really cool. And first thing Emily says is, this better not require a new bike. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm thinking about. And it would be like next year. And one of the first replies on Instagram was, hey, this will get you a new bike. A reason for a new bike. And I'm like, oh no. I've got a really nice road bike that I could put clip-ons on. I have a nice tri-bike, but it's too delicate on dirt and gravel. And I have a nice road bike, but the fork and chainstays might be too narrow to put a wide enough tire on there. I would have to test it to see. And then I have my Orbea mountain bike, which would be actually really good, and just put slick tires on it and clip-on aero bars. That'd be pretty comfy, probably. And then I have a old aluminum frame Nishiki, kind of like hybrid town bike that's actually perfect for it. I've gone mountain biking on it. It's really nice. It's just old, and it would need everything on it to get it to work. It's a single speed right now. Kai's riding it to school, so it's nice and simple. It's got redneck four-wheel drive on it. The back tire's bigger than the front tire. It looks pretty cool. It's fast. Oh man, so I'm excited about that. The reason I was thinking about it is I saw an article, which I'll talk about at the beginning of the show, about the guy that did this crazy, he climbed Mount Everest and swam the English Channel and rode across America. And I have done sort of that, almost. I have not done an epically long bike ride. I have done 170 miles at once. After doing 90 miles the previous day in an Ultraman. And I have done a 100-mile mountain bike ride, which was a mix of road. It was probably 50-50. You ride on the road between two mountain bike parks, and one from mountain bike park A to B, and then back to A again. And riding all the mountain bike stuff too. It was a 100-miler. I loved that, although I bonked probably halfway through, and was just miserable the second half. But I was really happy when I finished. And then that was really hard. But in 2011, I started off the year by running a 100 miler. I probably did an Ironman Texas. And then I qualified in a triathlon to swim the Alcatraz triathlon. So I swam the Alcatraz straight. And then I swam across Lake Tahoe that same summer. So we're kind of getting in that territory, right? So Lake Tahoe is 1 mile longer than the English Channel. It's claim to fame. High altitude, and I was coming from sea level. Cold. It took me 13 something hours. So a 100-mile trail run race and a sort of like English Channel swim crossing in the same year. And I don't think I did that 100-mile mountain bike that same year. But then like 2 Ironmans that same year. I bet. So I'm thinking, but I've definitely not done. I was telling Emily a little bit about this. She's like, "You've done crazy long bike stuff," and I go, "Really? I haven't. Not like on the scale of what this guy did, like bike across Texas. I'm not a huge fan of long, epic road rides because it's a really good way to get hit by a car, riding places that might be questionable and you don't really know until you kind of get there, and then you might get there during a bad time of day and you just decide to ride it anyway because you have to, and the next thing you know, you get hit. The Gran Fondo thing in town in March is that's what they say is the reason that gravel is getting so popular is you can ride a lot, and it's interesting, it's challenging to a point. It's not crazy hard, and it's much safer because there's much fewer cars on gravel roads. If there was more cars, they'd pave it usually. So that was really cool. Looking at that, and then last night I thought I would get close to wrapping up this show with describing my bike ride. I've got a cool workout for you to try out. I rode for an hour, and I was riding around the east end of Hawaii, the Big Island, the island that Kona is on. There's lots and lots of jungle on the northeast side. It's really beautiful. And I was riding it free ride, like a no smart trainer stuff. I was controlling the trainer, how much resistance I wanted. So after at 15 minutes in of my hour ride, I did a hard interval till failure, which took about 45 seconds, going pretty hard. Not sprinting. You're trying to keep the aerobic part out of it, but just so it burns like you're doing a weightlifting set. And I did the first one. I don't remember which one I started with, but there's a really cool thing you can do. You alternate aero position and then sitting position, and this makes time fly by. So you do every 5 minutes you do an interval, but you do the interval in the other position than the one that you just did. So let's say at 15 minutes in, I did an interval till my legs almost failed in the aero position. And then at 20 minutes, I did it in the sitting upright position. And then at the 25 minutes, I did it in the aero position. And then at the 30 minutes, I did it in the upright position. And this is good stuff because you're using your muscles differently. You can tell that it does not fatigue one set of muscles very much to do intervals in the other position. So really, you're kind of, in a way, you're getting 10 minutes in between. And after the first interval, try to stay in the aero position to recover as much as you can and go back to almost no resistance and pedal easy like you're kind of pedaling downhill. And triathlon's all about efficiency and cramming in the most amount of stuff the smartest way that's repeatable. And this way, you're getting in like 4 to 5 intervals for each position, for both positions each. They really don't seem to affect each other too much. It's pretty cool. As long as you recover nice and easy. Like drop all the resistance off and pedal easy and then slowly pick up speed. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. Had a good time. And that's it. I think this might be our last entry, and then we're going to wrap up the show. Got a big weekend ahead coming up. All right, I'll be right back. Hey, I'm back. This is definitely going to be the last entry because we need to wrap up the show and get it out there. I had a really interesting experience running last night after doing some digging around on the interwebs. And then this morning on the bike. Oh, well, one, my treadmill's broken, so I ran outside. Oh, wow. And I tried something new. You can, which I'm a big fan of. I was honking at Kai and his friend biking to school. Because it works generally. It's very expensive. It's like $60. It's like about $2 a serving. And while I am a huge fan of what works, I'm also very much not a fan of paying too much for stuff. People that make triathlon stuff for us thinks everybody is a dentist or a lawyer. It's the big joke. And that we have endless disposable cash. And a lot of us don't, especially if you're younger. You don't, so you're trying to save money on this stuff. And if you're doing triathlon, you're working out a lot of times a day. So this stuff starts to add up. So any place where you can find money savings is a huge bonus. So I was digging around. Has anybody posted yet? Because I look every once in a while for stuff like this. Has anybody posted yet a way to save money on UCAN, like an alternative fuel? And boom, I found a very interesting article, blog post, something. I found several and then did some more digging. And I think I may have something. I'm going to be testing it out over the next forever until it stops working. And UCAN, basically, the gist is this. UCAN is actually a super duper version of cornstarch. Cornstarch actually works great for a long burning fuel. And it just didn't work great enough for what UCAN was invented for, which is like 6, 7, 8 hours of slow burn for a serving or two, or however much it would take. Okay, so UCAN was invented for kids that had a problem storing glycogen. If they eat or drink sugar, they immediately pee or poop it out, maybe. Probably pee it out. Their body just genetically can't hold on to it. And so they have to eat basically on a sugar drip all the time. And then so they can't sleep through the night because they're constantly having to eat sugar or carbs, whatever. And the point is that they were doing cornstarch. And cornstarch worked halfway through the night. So like 4.5 hours cornstarch lasts before it's spent up. Or spent. In Texas, we add up to everything. I'm trying to think of an example. I'll think of one in a minute. But we also add fixing to go to the store. The funny thing is, what fixing? Is it broken? Are you broken? Anyway, cornstarch is super duper cheap, and I found a blog, article, whatever, people trying it. It's kind of hard to find, actually, and that it worked great. Okay, so I decided I would try it. Went through the pantry, found cornstarch, just like they were using in this thing, and so they basically, I think they just take cornstarch and then temper it, heat it up, cool it down, and then it adds another few hours to how long it takes to digest it. And ooh, it's foggy out here. Need to be careful. And doing so, the testing, the first thing in my old age and wisdom I've learned now is gently test it first by seeing if it hurts your stomach. Number one, that's the first thing to do. So what I did yesterday afternoon, I found some at lunch. I went home for lunch real quick, and that's where I found it in the pantry. So after lunch, I had, about 100 calories of cornstarch, mixed it in water, and by the way, it mixes way better than you can. It doesn't settle as heavily as quickly to the bottom. It's similar, but not quite as bad. And then, and by the way, I think cornstarch is probably like 2 cents a serving. I don't know, maybe 25 cents. Drank it and actually mixed it with a little bit of Diet Coke to give it some flavor. And never noticed anything the rest of the afternoon. Was totally fine. And no gas or anything like that. Although I did have a little bit of gas, but I think the UCAN from the morning was actually bothering my stomach. That was before lunch. And see, that's the thing. Like plain UCAN, my stomach seems to get gassy off of it sometimes. And that's a problem. Anyway, it's after lunch, didn't seem to be a problem. And then got home from work and decided to try it on my run. And a thing about running here and lots of places, but for example Texas, is it's hot and humid almost all the time. So you just cannot carry enough water with you. So it's nice to pre-fuel and have that on board and then go run without worrying about at least that. So I got home and had 100 calories or so of, I used the UCAN scoop, I think it's about 100 calories, of cornstarch. Tried that, and it took me about half an hour after that to get running. Ran, had even energy the entire time, liked it, and I also brought with me about, I think 50 to 60, maybe 70 calories, probably 50, of Gatorade mixed in my water bottle that I had with me running, just for a security blanket. And had a remarkably even energy run. Felt great the entire time and felt good at the end. So I was like, okay, doesn't seem to be bothering my stomach. Got to the house and Zoe, Kai and I were talking outside, and Zoe our dog ate all my pizza that I was going to eat after running. And then stayed up a little while talking with Kai about stuff, and then went to bed. Got up this morning to ride my bike, and I tried my cornstarch thing before my ride. A cup of coffee, added some cornstarch to the end of the cup of coffee. That way the coffee wasn't like scalding hot, because that alters the chemistry of things. If you put cornstarch in UCAN in very hot liquids, it kind of melts it. It ruins the slowness of it. And so the coffee was starting to get lukewarm, and so that's when I added the cornstarch and drank that. And then drank a little bit of water after that while I'm getting ready to get on the bike. Had a bike ride and had super even energy the entire bike ride. I wasn't worried about the energy on the bike ride so much, because I don't have problems with energy in the morning workouts so much. Stable blood sugar, but like I do in the evenings. But it didn't upset my stomach, and so I'm excited. We'll see where this goes. We'll follow up with on the next episode, maybe, of how that's working. And wouldn't that be cool if it's something that's underutilized that people don't know about, and it works great and it's super cheap? I used to be a barefoot runner, and half the reason was to save money on shoes. That wasn't the reason I started, but then afterwards I was like, man, I'm saving a ton of money on shoes. Let's keep doing this. All right, that is it. I had a wonderful run outside. That was really nice. I live where the streets are kind of random and up and down, and it's all over the place. So it's actually almost like trail running. It's pretty cool. I got me motivated to maybe run Rocky Raccoon, like a lap of the Rocky Raccoon, 100 or 50 trail run pretty soon. Okay, that is it. If you want to help support the show, you can, or if you want to follow the show, let's do that first. Just want to follow first. Then I'm on Twitter as ZenTriathlon, and I'm on Instagram as ZenTriathlon, and I think, we have ZenTriathlon.com, and I think I forgot to mention last episode that you can help support the show. If you like the coaching tips and advice and insights that I give on the show, then you can support the show by going to ZenTriathlon.com and looking on the side of the page, and there is a PayPal link to help support the show, and you can do a one-time donation, recurring donation, whatever you want, and it is awesome. I use that kind of fundage to buy stuff to put on the show. I looked in there and I actually had almost enough. I keep that PayPal account separate from Emily. She can't touch it. And it's separate from us. It stays in that account and it's used only for ZenTri stuff. I saw that I might have enough money to buy and test out a Garmin Varia, the rear radar thing. That'd be kind of cool. So I might do that. All right, that is it. Everybody stay safe out there. Work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out.